geological explorers. Today we are still studying about the earth. Now we have been talking about lots of different things in our lessons. We've talked about, whoop, almost dropped my book. We've been talking about things like the different layers of the earth, because we live on the crust, and then there's the mantle, the inner core and the outer core and things like that. We've been talking about how heat, pressure, and time change the earth and change rocks, how it affects things. We've been talking about how heat and pressure can cause geysers and volcanoes to explode and erupt. So we've been talking about lots and lots of different things and how it affects our earth. So we're going to look a little more today about types of rocks, because we talked about minerals and gemstones in our, I think it was our last lesson maybe. But today we're going to talk about how rocks can be sorted into 3 categories, okay? And it's all because of how they're formed by heat, pressure, and time. So this is where I'm going to need your help, okay? Actually, I'm going to wait. Let's talk about our vocabulary words first, and then I'm going to tell you how I'm going to need your help, okay? Oh no, I don't have our vocabulary words up. That's okay. All right, so today we're going to talk about artifacts. Artifacts are items from long ago made by people. There were many artifacts at the museum, including jars and bowls. Igneous, it's a type of rock that forms when molten rock cools, hardens, and turns solid. Obsidian and granite are 2 types of igneous rocks. Metamorphic, a type of rock that has formed from another rock as a result of heat and or pressure. Marble is a metamorphic rock formed from limestone, a sedimentary rock. Now, sedimentary is a type of rock that has formed as a result of layers of sediment pressed together. Coal is a type of sedimentary rock used as an energy source. And sediments, small solid pieces of material often carried and moved around by the wind and weather. Sediments settled at the bottom of the swimming pool. Now, I'm going to stop sharing for a second, because now I'm going to explain to you how I'm going to need your help today, okay? So when we talk about our 3 types of rocks in our read aloud today, I want you to do something for me, okay? Every time you hear a word, I want you to do something. So if you hear the word igneous, okay, we just talked about it, an igneous, it's a rock. Whenever you hear the word igneous, I want you to hold up your finger like it's a candle and blow it out, okay? We're going to pretend like it's a candle. So if you hear the word igneous, blow it out, okay? So the flame is going to talk about heat. And remember, heat forms rocks. All right, our next word, sedimentary. If you hear the word sedimentary, I want you to place one hand flat, place your other hand flat, and then just keep going like that. Because that shows us a hand on top of a hand is like a layer, okay? And we're going to talk about how it forms a layer, okay? Now, the third word that I want you to hear, or do something if you hear, is metamorphic. Whenever you hear the word metamorphic, I want you to take both hands and hold them real tight together to demonstrate pressure, okay? So igneous rock shows heat. Sedimentary rock shows time. There's lots of layers. And metamorphic rock shows pressure, okay? So I want you to listen carefully for those 3 types of rocks, and let's talk about how they're formed, okay? Don't forget, igneous, sedimentary, metamorphic. All right, here we go. Let me get my screen back up. Now, I'm having to use a different type of slide today, so you'll have to bear with me, okay? All right, here we go. The right amount of heat can turn a solid rock or metal into liquid. What's the difference between a solid liquid or a solid rock and a liquid rock? One's hard and doesn't move its shape, and the liquid rock will float, kind of like lava and magma. Where was that? Pressure from the weight of the earth and movement of materials inside the earth can crush rocks. Over time, the effects of heat and pressure create the rock formations and other geologic phenomena that we find in the world. Working together, heat, pressure, and time create the 3 types of rock that exist in the world. Every rock in the world can be placed into one of three categories. The three types of rock are igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. Try saying each of these rocks out loud. Ready? Here we go. Igneous, sedimentary, metamorphic. Good job, guys. Ooh, excuse me. The first type of rock is igneous, the most common. Igneous rocks come from many forms. Some form entire mountains, and some appear as boulders jutting from the earth. This picture shows a close-up of one type of igneous rock. This plain old gray rock contains different types of minerals, and it hasn't always been a plain old gray rock. So here's an igneous rock. The word igneous comes from the Latin word fire, because igneous rocks begin deep down in the heat of the Earth's mantle. Now, the word igneous sounds similar to the word ignite, which means to light something on fire. Both come from igni, the Latin for fire. Making connections between word parts help us learn more words. Sorry. Okay, back to this. As you heard, the Earth's mantle is full of hot, gooey, oozing substance known as magma or melted rock. The magma is constantly being forced toward the surface by pressure from within the Earth. As it travels upward from the mantle through the crust, the magma begins to cool and harden. Sometimes the magma will erupt from a volcano, but sometimes the conditions aren't quite right for an eruption. So over time, heat forms magma and pressure moves magma. When the magma cools, it forms what type of rock? Igneous rock. This formation is called Half Dome, and it's located in Yosemite National Park in California. When you look at Half Dome, you are looking at an old magma chamber. A magma chamber pocket or place in the earth where magma collects. As more magma enters the chamber, it gets hotter and pressure builds, and the magma can force its way up to the surface to form in the form of a volcano. Or sometimes, as in the Half Dome, the magma just gathers in the chamber and stays there without erupting. For whatever geological reason, the heat and pressure did not get great enough to force the magma through the crust and onto the surface in the form of lava. Instead, the magma cooled and hardened within the chamber. Over time, the rocks and soil around the chamber eroded away, leaving beautiful Half Dome alone sticking high up the earth. Half Dome is certainly a big igneous rock. Another type of igneous formation occurs when magma intrudes or pushes itself between two existing layers of rock. This means that not all the layers in this mountain were formed one on top of the other. Rather, some of the layers forced their way in between other rocks. Interesting. This is my favorite type of igneous rock, obsidian, better known as volcanic glass. Volcanic glass forms when certain types of lava cool and harden, becoming smooth, shiny, and glass-like. Only certain types of lava under certain conditions become volcanic glass. Some Native Americans use volcanic glass to make arrowheads and spearheads. If you break a piece of volcanic glass, you will find that it is incredibly sharp and strong. Every now and then, I find ancient artifacts like this when I'm out rock hunting. Artifacts are objects made by people long time ago. So which type of rock would you have you heard about so far? Igneous, sedimentary, or metamorphic? Igneous. after igneous, the second major rock type is sedimentary. Remember, sedimentary. Sedimentary rocks are not formed like igneous rocks, which form from cooled magma. In fact, heat does not play much of a role at all in the formation of sedimentary rocks. Instead, pressure and time are the most important factors in the formation of sedimentary rock. So, of heat, pressure, and time, which two are the most important in forming sedimentary rocks? Pressure and time. The word sediments refers to tiny little particles, such as dirt or rock, which are carried along in the water, ice, wind, or landslides. So sediments are little tiny pieces of dirt and rock. So did you hear the word sediment and sedimentary? So if you look on here, you can see little teeny tiny pieces of dirt and rock on the water. So when you go swimming in like the lake or something, or even in your pool, and you might see little tiny pieces of dirt floating around, that's sediment. That's sediments. They're small, tiny little rocks and dirt. If you dump a spoonful of sand into a glass of water, for instance, you will see the sand gradually sink down and settle on the bottom of the glass, much in the same way that sediments settle on the bottom of lakes and oceans. So when I'm talking about sinking, I'm talking it goes below the surface of the water. So it goes down to like the very bottom. Okay. Sediments are always floating around in lakes, oceans, and rivers. Over time, sediments in lake water settle and form a sludge on the bottom of a lake. As more and more sediments settle on the bottom, more and more weight presses down on the sludge. Over time, the pressure from the weight of the upper sediments can cause the sludge to harden into rock. Through time and pressure, layers of sediments are turned into sedimentary rock. So how are sedimentary rocks formed? Time and pressure turn layers of sediment into sedimentary rocks. So time and pressure start building on top of each other. Coal is a type of sedimentary rock that comes from decayed plants that have been under pressure for many years. And decayed means that the plant has died and it has their remains go back to earth. So like if you see like a plant that has died and it starts wilting and turning mushy and yucky, it's being decomposed and it's going back into, it's decaying and back to the earth. Coal is an important energy source. People burn coal in order to create electricity for homes and to make energy to power machines in factories. Coal and other important rocks, minerals, and metals by mining them from the earth. One way to mine coal is by digging in mine shafts or tunnel deep down in the earth. Another sedimentary rock is called iron ore. An ore is a rock that contains valuable minerals or metals. There are many different types of ore in the world, but iron ore is one of the most important. Iron ore is a source of iron, a strong metal which is used to make steel. Steel, in turn, is used to build buildings, bridges, cars, tools, and others you see and use every day. Sandstone is one common type of sedimentary rock. Oh, I heard sedimentary. Whenever you find sandstone, or wherever you find sandstone, there's a good chance that you are walking in a place that used to be completely underwater. At one time or another, every place on Earth has been completely submerged in water. Thus, sandstone is quite common throughout the world. This photo was taken in Bryce Canyon in the state of Utah, which is known for its unique sandstone formations. Here's another sandstone canyon I thought you would like to see. Antelope Canyon in Arizona is a very special place. It is known as a slot canyon, which is formed over many, many years as water from rain and floods rushes through the sandstone, causing it to erode. So what it's talking about is when in this, there used to be lots and lots of water, and that water would chip away at these blocks or these big, huge rocks here, and it would leave this shape. But again, it takes long for that to happen. These cliffs are made of limestone, another type of sedimentary rock. Limestone is interesting because it's composed mainly of minerals left over from ancient sea creatures like clams, oysters, and other shellfish. When these creatures died, their shells sank down to the ocean floor and settled with other sediments. Over time, the churning ocean ground the shells into a fine white powder. The powder settled and more shells and sediment put pressure on it. It took many, many years, but eventually all the powdery shell left over are into limestone. I heard pressure and time. With pressure and a long, long period of time, the shells of sea creatures turned into sedimentary rock. So we've learned about igneous rock and sedimentary rock so far. If limestone is subjected to intense pressure for even longer period of time, it can turn into another kind of rock called marble. Marble is very hard and often has a beautiful pure white color. People have used marble for thousands of years to make fine buildings and sculptures. Marble is known as metamorphic rock, which is the third and least common type of rock. Whenever you hear the word metamorphic, don't forget to squeeze your hands together. Metamorphic comes from the Greek word for transformation or change. Metamorphic rocks are formed when other types of rock undergo intense heat and pressure and change, or metamorphose into new kinds of rocks. So what type of rock formed when heat and pressure change igneous and sedimentary rock into new rocks? A metamorphic rock. Congratulations, you are becoming a geologist. Now you know about the three types of rock: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. Won't everyone be impressed when you tell them about the new words you've learned? All right, friends, now it's time for us to review what we've learned today. So let's talk. What are the three types of rock we learned about today? Igneous, sedimentary, metamorphic. How are igneous rocks formed? Remember, igneous means fire. Igneous rocks are formed from hot magma or lava that cools and hardens. How are sedimentary rocks formed? Sediments settle and form a thick sludge at the bottom of the lake that thickens over time. The pressure from the weight of the sediment makes it hard into sedimentary rock. And how is a metamorphic rock formed? They're formed when heat and pressure change igneous and sedimentary rocks into new rocks. And last question, how are the three types of rocks similar and how are they different? Well, they can all be found in the earth and are formed over time. That's how they're similar. And they're different because igneous rocks are formed when heat forms magma and pressure moves the magma towards the surface of the earth. Sedimentary rocks are formed when layers of sediment are pressed together over time, and metamorphic rock are formed when other types of rocks undergo intense heat or pressure. Okay, now friends, you have questions in your Google Classroom. I want you to go work on those, and when you're turn it into me, and I'll see you on our next lesson. Bye, friends.